Everybody. Welcome to DrBoyceTV.com, the home for intelligent Black people. I am so happy to see you all today. Today is going to be an awesome day. We get a chance to talk to a couple of legends, actually, legends that you may or may not have heard of, but you need to hear about them because these are the people that paved the way for any of us who have had opportunities to be successful. And I want to remind everybody that on this platform, we put our community first. We believe in the power of our families and our children. We are building wealth for the future. And we live by the Be One philosophy, which means that we must be one in order to be successful. So if you agree with that philosophy, if you're on the same page, put a hashtag B and the number one in the chat, hashtag B1. Hello, Terry Cobb and Justin Pinder. I see you. So let's get this started. I got a call. I got a call recently from a brother that came on not too long ago, Andrew Wyatt, who works with Mr. Bill Cosby. Some of you may have seen the interview that Andrew did where he was sort of clarifying what was going on with that case. And I know many of you supported Mr. Cosby in terms of seeing the justice was served. And so Andrew and I became friends, and I also spoke to Mr. Cosby. And so Andrew reaches out and he says that there are two guys that Mr. Cosby wants you to know about. And those two names were Floyd Norman and Leo D. Sullivan. And so I said, okay, great, sure. And so I did a little bit of research on it, and I'm still learning as we go along. But let me just tell everybody here, these two guys are absolute legends. Mr. Sullivan's on his way in. Mr. Norman's here. And I hope you all will join me in greeting Mr. Norman. Welcome to the platform, sir. How are you today?
I am fine, thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And so your field is animation, and I looked up a little bit on your bio, and I saw that birthday in 1935. Let's see, that's what, June 22nd, 1935. So yeah. Your birthday is 2 days after mine. Which is, so I like you already. And so you have been in this in the game of animation for a very long time. You've worked on some major projects. In fact, if it's okay with you, Mr. Norman, I hope it's not embarrassing for you, but I want to read to everybody a few of the projects you've been involved with. Is that okay?
Well, as long as they're not too many.
Okay, well, you know what? I'll read the first 8 to 10 that come on the list. So
okay.
Check this out, everybody. Check this out. This is listed under notable work for Mr. Norman, and he can help fill in the blanks on this. Sleeping Beauty, The Sword and the Stone, Jungle Book, Mary Poppins, 101 Dalmatians, Toy Story 2, Monsters, Inc., Mickey Mouse comic strip. He's won he's in the Black Filmmakers Hall of Fame. He's won the Winsor McKay Award, Disney Legend Award, Inkpot Award. The list goes on and on and on. So I hope that wasn't too embarrassing, but
yeah, it's pretty embarrassing.
Is it? Well, you know what? I'll tell you, it is. I didn't even read it for you. Yeah. I read it for everybody in here who wants to be like you, right? And I hope that's okay.
That's okay, because I think the kids, and there are a lot of kids out there who have a desire to become part of the entertainment world. A resume like mine hopefully encourages them to pursue their dream, that they can do great things and they can enjoy a wonderful career. As I have, I've been a very lucky guy to have been able to work in the entertainment business, mainly in animation, but I've also done live action as well. I've done television. I've done every job imaginable, from writer, director, artist, at times even actor. And I'm willing to do anything because I just love the business. I love the business of storytelling. And that's what I fell in love with when I was a kid. The older men and women who would come to us, young kids, and tell us a story. And I was fascinated by storytelling and the power of storytelling, the fact that you can use this wonderful medium to entertain and educate, as we did with a show called Sesame Street back in the 1960s, where we actually educated youngsters using, the medium of film and television and animation in particular. So I've had the joy and pleasure of working in a wonderful field, and it's been a great career, and it's brought me a great deal of satisfaction as well.
Everyone, I want you all to know also that Mr. Norman, in addition to doing all these great programs or great projects that he's worked on that I mentioned earlier, he also, and the man that I'm also bringing in, Mr. Leo Sullivan, you also have worked with a guy by the name of Bill Cosby on a show that was really instrumental in my upbringing. The show was called Fat Albert.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'd love to. And first of all, I want to pause and say hello, Mr. Sullivan. It's very good to see you, sir.
Hello. Good morning.
All right,
Out here in California.
well, great to have you. Great to have you. And so you know that show was really important to me as a kid. And I feel like there was a difference between what was presented there, the intentionality of educating kids, particularly kids
Yeah.
that look like me.
Right.
You know, as opposed to some other things maybe that are out here. Can you kind of talk about that? And maybe Mr. Sullivan, since you just got in here, and I'll introduce your bio in a second, and everything else. But what was that like? Can you talk about that a little bit in terms of the behind the scenes on the creation of Fat Albert and the work that was done there that that we should know about just as a community?
Well, that was kind of a bold experiment. It was one of its kind at that time, that period of time. And Bill kind of like was the moving force. The Fat Albert special was based on some of his comedy routines that he did on stage and what have you. And so we had to adapt some of those routines into animated special. Comedy routine. And I was hired on to do animation and character design and you know, animation print things that we had to put into we had a director that was directing it, and we had to kind of comply to what he was doing, and we came up with animation things that we had to, yeah.
Okay, so character development, and you said the adaptation of his routines
Yeah.
Into a cartoon. Okay, so you know, I think one of the things that really impressed me the most about animation at the level that you men have worked on it with is people. I think people don't understand or appreciate how much work and how much preparation it takes in order to do that. I mean, it takes a lot of time to put all that together, right? Mr.
Yeah.
Norman, can you kind of speak to that in terms of things we don't know about how difficult it is to do something like that?
Well, animation is labor intensive in the fact that it's a motion picture made by hand. You know, animation, traditional hand drawn animation, and certainly what we were doing back in the 1960s with Fat Albert was all drawn by hand, and that is artists at the drawing board, literally drawing every frame of film to bring that Fat Albert special to life. So animation is a unique kind of filmmaking in that, yeah, we do have actors who provide the voices for the characters, but it's mainly the animators who labor over their drawing tables for hours and hours, for days, for weeks, sometimes for years, bringing these cartoon characters to life. And as Leo spoke about when they first developed the Fat Albert special back in the 1960s, it was taking Bill Cosby's comedy routines and then building a narrative to make those routines work as an animated cartoon. And the Fat Albert special was very special back at that time. It was one of the most exciting projects I had ever been involved with. And I'd been involved with a lot of things, but Fat Albert was certainly special.
Okay, so let me jump back to you, Mr. Sullivan. How did you get into animation? What drove you in that direction in your early life?
Well, I was always an artist and learning how to drawing from grade school on up, and I stayed with it. And then I would see cartoons and everything, and I said, well, I wonder how they do that. So my curiosity, I went to the library, and at that time there was only one book out on animation. It was called The Art of Walt Disney. And I said, geez, I went to that book. I don't think anybody else in the school ever got a chance to check it out, because I checked it out every time I checked it back in. and I would read that. I said, someday I'm going to get into this. And so when I was an Air Force brat, so my father and the family moved all over the country. So when we got back to California, I went to an art school and everything, and started learning about the craft and everything. And then as I learned things, I would start going around knocking on doors, trying to get into the industry, and then here 60 years later.
Wow. So, Mr. Norman, and by the way, everybody, I'm speaking with Mr. Floyd Norman and Leo D. Sullivan, and these guys are animation legends, and they came recommended by Bill Cosby, which you all know that I have a lot of respect for Mr. Cosby, and my position was real clear as far as the controversy. I didn't have a problem drawing a line in the sand and letting everybody know where I stood on that. And if you could, please hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe button, and please greet these men who helped clear the path for so many of us to be successful. So, Mr. Norman, I'd like to ask you this question. How long have you known Mr. Cosby, and how did you all become friends?
Well, all this began when Leo brought the fact that Bill wanted to bring Fat Albert to the screen. I got the news from Leo, and we immediately began trying to find Mr. Cosby. It took us a while, because back in those days, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have social media. You literally had to, get a phone book, start making phone calls, start driving around town, trying to find addresses. So it took us a while to find the company that Bill was a partner in. And we began developing Fat Albert for television by taking Bill's comedy albums and adapting those comedy routines to animated storytelling. But I remember Leo made the first steps, because he was the one who encouraged me. Let's track down Bill Cosby. Let's try to find him and convince him that we're the guys who can help him bring Fat Albert to life using the medium of animation. So this was back in the late 60s, I believe, when all of this took place, and it was a very exciting time.
Wow. So Mr. Sullivan, okay, so it sounds like you all were involved in the origination of Fat Albert. Now, I wasn't sure how deeply you'd been involved. So is it fair to say that if you all hadn't reached out to Mr. Cosby, that maybe Fat Albert might not have ever come to be? Or is that am I saying too much by saying that, Mr. Sullivan?
Yeah, you're saying too much by saying that.
Really?
What happened is that I worked in another studio previous to that. Bob Clampett. Bob Clampett was the guy that did Tweety Bird and Sylvester the Cat for Warner Brothers. And I'd worked with this guy who was an artist, and Bill Cosby put out a call to him, because he was going to be the director on the film, and Bill Cosby said, "Give me some black guys." So the guy called on me, because I'd worked with him before at this Bob Clampett studio, and then we ended up went out there. I said, "Hey, Floyd, we can do something to show that we can do it." So we took a routine out of Bill's records albums, and we sat down, and I gave Floyd half, and I took half, and we did it. And so when I went to that meeting, well, I guess they hired me, and I snuck Floyd in later. But anyway, they said they could only hire one.
Oh, really?
One token, not two.
So how did y'all both get in there then, if they was only going to hire one?
Well, they hired me, so I started working with the director, and then I called up Floyd and say, "Floyd, come on over here and just be around," So he did, and he got involved.
Yeah, we had two gigs at that time. We were working on another show across town over at ABC television. We were doing a weekly half-hour TV show, and I would literally work on that show for a while, drive across town to the Bill Cosby studio, and work with them for a while, and then the next day I'd go back to ABC to work on the comedy show. So,
Wow.
and Leo was working on both as well. So we were working hard across town on the Cosby Show and on the ABC comedy show. Yeah.
So, what happened to Fat Albert? What's the story behind why it didn't just? I mean, maybe I don't know. Was it a show that just kind of died a natural death, or what was the decision process for whoever made the decision to take it off the air? What happened with that, if I may ask?
Well, you're talking about a span of time. We did a special. The thing that Floyd and I are talking about is a special. Was a special with Fat Albert called "Hey Hey Hey, It's Fat Albert," and that ran on, I guess it was ABC at the time.
NBC.
NBC.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, they did a TV show, and they must have did about how many seasons, Floyd?
Oh, it was very successful.
Yeah.
It was done by a studio called Filmation.
Right. And so they picked up the series, and they did that for about 10 years or more. And then I guess times change. You know, studios like NBC and ABC, they go on to the next craze or whatever. But during that period of time, guys like you were little boys and little girls.
Yeah.
And they watched that stuff. That stuff was being done by people like myself and Floyd.
Well, you know what? It made a difference for this little boy. You know, that's one of the cartoons I remember more than anything as a kid. And I want to ask everybody. First of all, I want to let everybody know who I'm talking to. I'm talking to Mr. Floyd Norman and Leo D. Sullivan. These men are absolutely extraordinary, legendary, well accomplished, particularly in the field of animation. And I hope you will greet them as you come through the door. And I want to ask everybody a question. As everybody hits the thumbs up button, please hit the thumbs up button so that more people will see this video. We're trying to build our own media here, and it's hard to do, so we can use your help. I want everybody to give me a yes or no if you've ever seen an episode of Fat Albert. Give me a yes in the chat if you've seen an episode of Fat Albert. If you put a no, anybody that puts a no in here, I want all the yeses to get on them and tell them to go watch Fat Albert. You got to go watch it. And because I'll tell you, there's something about, and I think that this is what a lot of the folks here appreciate about Bill Cosby and the things he's been a part of, is that there's something that makes you feel good about the shows that he's been a part of. You know, sure, there's other things that people can talk about, or whatever, but when I think about Cosby Show, Different World, Fat Albert, those are just three shows that just made me feel good. It made you feel proud to be black. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, it's unrealistic to have a healthy black family on TV." You know?
Right. And that's what we're combating with our brand.
Yeah, and I want to ask you about that. So, in fact, we can switch in that direction.
Before we go there,
oh please,
Floyd and I did the first Soul Train.
Really?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
That little train that came out saying "Soul Train." Floyd and I did that.
Really? Okay.
With Don Cornelius, yeah.
Yeah. So y'all did the animation for Soul Train.
Yeah, the main title animation, right?
See,
okay.
now I'm embarrassed because I should have known that. Tell me more, please.
Well, Don Cornelius came to us and through somebody that we knew and said, "You guys, can you do this?" We said, "Yes." Can you have it to us by? Well, I think how long did it take us to do that for? It was
a couple of days. It was a very fast turnaround. We had to do it in like 2 or 3 days.
And we had our children and our cousins and nephews painting the sails of the drawings as Floyd and I drew them, and then we shot it on camera and took it down to Don Cornelius. He says, "Okay, it's a goal. Let's go with that," and that rest is history.
Wow, wow. Let me. You know what? I pulled up a Soul Train intro. Is this you guys right here?
No, I don't think
So
no.
that's not the one.
No, ours was very simple. It was like a regular train coming out, spelling out the word Soul Train. There was about after that, as the years went past with the Soul Train show, there were about 3 other iterations that took place. They wanted me to do the second iteration, but I was doing something else, and we didn't have time now.
Okay, so was this Soul Train intro? Was this used during the 70s, the 80s, or
70s?
Well, actually, it was the pilot for the first show, so it was used throughout that probably the first and second seasons of Soul Train.
Yeah.
really? Okay.
Yeah, but it was the first.
Now, did you all get to know Don Cornelius while he was alive?
Yeah, well, we had meetings with him when we were working on Soul Train.
Huh.
When we were doing the show,
Yeah.
I used to take him around in Los Angeles because he was coming out of Chicago. We go to all the nice spots.
Really?
He would shoot 4 shows on the weekend for the month. Whenever he did a shoot, he'd come to LA, and then he moved to LA, and then the Soul Train gang and everything, the dancers and everything, were all recruited here in Los Angeles, and that was it.
Yeah, those kids would dance for hours. Remember that, Leo? They'd be dancing.
Yeah, they would dance for hours.
Yeah.
Because they had to do 4 shows.
Right.
4-hour shows.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you, I watch Soul Train too. Everybody in the chat, type Soul Train in the chat if you watch Soul Train. So you guys have had extraordinary experiences, and you're far from done, because it sounds to me like you've got something else iconic that you're working on. Afro Kids TV. Did I say it right?
Yeah, we have AfroKids.com.
AfroKids.com. Okay, tell us about Afro Kids.
Yeah, Afro Kids TV. We have the AfroKidsFamily.com. And we have the Leo Sullivan Multimedia, which is the main corporation, which all those entities are under, representing the Afro Kids brand.
Okay. So tell us about Afro Kids. So you two are working on this together?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So what should we know about Afro Kids? I'm gonna share a screen so everybody can see, and I'll put the URL on the screen. What's the thinking behind Afro Kids?
To present positive images to our kids and Black families, because they don't get that very often, and the mainstream sort of like saps all that information and puts puts Black families, especially Black children, at a negative way. They don't get to see positive images that represent them in any great form. So when I came up with the idea of Afro Kids, I said, well, look, let's do something that just addresses our niche and try to address a problem. We're not necessarily the solvers of the problem. We're just offering an opportunity for parents to dig in and work with their children and look at things, because most of the parents these days have a tendency to hand their kids off to the system. And the system messes with their minds because they don't get the true facts. And what we represent stories about Black history, lessons of learning and building self-esteem and self-worth and all those kind of entities, subjects, and it goes on and on. When you go there, it's a subscription site because we have to be supported, and for people, grandmas and grandpas and aunties and uncles, they can buy subscriptions for their kids if they're not looking at it. But if they want to sit there and monitor their kids and explain things, our age ranges from about 4 years old up to about 12, because at 12 they're gone on to another space.
So let me ask you this question for you, Mr. Norman. I have my thoughts, and I'm not going to share too many of my thoughts because people can hear what I think later on. But I'll tell you, Mr. Norman, I'm a little bit concerned about what's happened with media that's being driven to our children. We had I had a fight with a rapper the other day who shall remain nameless, and like everybody that watches me, they know what I'm talking about. And it was all about the fact that he has some really disturbing imagery in his music videos, and he's marketed heavily to children. You know, you know, it ends up glorifying things like going to prison, and all the things that are destroying our community, it seems, or harming our community. It seems like these are the things that people are celebrating the most. Am I just being overly cynical, or are you seeing kind of the same thing, almost like a type of odd sort of decay that's occurring with media irresponsibility? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, of course, that negative stuff bothers us as well, because one of the key things Leo and I have always wanted to do was to present positive images to young Black children. Going all the way back to the 1960s when we produced Black history films, because there was nobody else making films on African American history. So where were you going to learn about the amazing Black people who did incredible things? Because it simply wasn't being taught in schools. So we began to make a series of Black history films to address those issues. And even as we carry on today with Afro Kids, the key thing is to provide positive images, not negative ones, but positive images of the Black family, of Black kids, and encouraging young Black kids to reach their potential. And I'm grateful for the young brothers who are out there now producing media, like Bruce Smith, who's doing The Proud Family, another animated series that presents positive images of the Black family. Matthew Cherry, who won an Academy Award for his award-winning short, Hair Love, about a dad doing a little Black girl's hair when her mom wasn't available to do her hair. Positive images like this is what Leo and I are encouraging as we do our thing with Afro Kids, and there are other brothers and sisters out there doing their thing as well, using this medium to educate, to inspire, to provide positive images to the Black community, and not all of this negative stuff that we too often see in our media.
I'd like to jump in here. A lot of the people who spew out that kind of images that you're talking about, Dr. Watkins, is they get paid by the system to do that. I think deep down inside, being responsible human beings, they're going after the money. And the money, the powers to be, want those negative images to go out to our children, so their mind shouldn't be controlled. I have a saying that I say to everybody on these kind of Zoom calls, is that they had the chains around our neck for 100, almost 300 years. Now they got it around our minds, and they are controlling our minds. So what we figure that we have to do is have some place where the parents who are responsible to their children and their families can go and monitor their kids to see the positive images. There was a study just done recently where they got kids. They say kids should not go up into their rooms and have their iPhones and tablets completely to themselves. Parents should use those children control things, because they said by this study that at least 80 to 90% of the children have seen pornography.
Wow. Well, you know, I'll tell you, it's a strange world we live in. You know, it's how does that feel, I'll push back to you, Mr. Norman. How does it feel to have been born in 1935 and to see the world in 2021? When you were doing work in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and Mr. Sullivan, you can answer as well. Did you even visualize what the world would be today, good or bad? Just everything happened. Did you even think about the year 2000 and beyond, back when you were doing great work in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, or were you sort of thinking about that particular era?
Well, I never thought it would be this bad. I don't mean to be negative, because we've seen a great deal of improvement. We've seen society change. We've seen remarkable changes in society. Things that we had to deal with back in the 50s and 60s have changed today. And yet, having said that, there's still a good deal of ignorance that continues today. And I was just watching early this morning my brother-in-law, who's back in Omaha, Nebraska, and he was talking about the racism that still exists in the Midwest here in 2021. You would have thought that all of this narrow-minded thinking would have been eradicated by now. But yet we are still fighting racism, this hard-headed stupidity, in 2021. And so that's the negative. That's the stuff that I really didn't anticipate. But not to be totally negative, we have made remarkable strides, and Black people, Black families have made remarkable strides here in 2021.
What do you think, Mr. Sullivan? Is 2021 what you thought it was going to be when you were working in the 60s and 70s and whatnot, or are you disappointed, pleasantly surprised, both?
All of that.
All of the above.
All of that. And the thing is that, Floyd and I have always been two guys who just did our job and thought positive and everything, and working in the various studios and everything. And they never addressed these kind of issues in the studios that much, because they were machines to pump out stuff to sell products. So we just did our job in that. Now in society, I guess society was doing its job too, and for us to get to this point, it's pretty negative. I mean, everything. I was talking to some people the other day, and pretty much wanted to call similar to this, and I was saying, how do we get our kids to get back? It's not only just Black kids; it's white kids or any kind of kids. Now we have a new thing called TikTok, which is one of the hottest things going. But the negative things and the things that they have doing, the predators that go and kick TikTok looking for kids, and how they manipulate them and bring them into their snare, as they say. It's atrocious. But parents say, "Hey, I'm on TikTok," and the kids are having fun. So that all that fun is kind of a distraction, and it's a distraction of what's going on today, and that's why certain individuals in politics are using that tool to misdirect as they have their other agenda.
Everybody who's watching, I'm speaking with Mr. Floyd Norman and Leo D. Sullivan. These individuals are legends in filmmaking and animation, and just have done amazing work on shows like Fat Albert and Soul Train and many others. If you could, please hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe button, and greet these brothers in terms of letting them know how much you appreciate the great work they've done. Also, their website is Afro Kids TV. That's Afro Kids TV. Go take a look at it. It's very, very good. We talk about supporting the things we believe in. It's not enough for you to complain about the things you don't like. You got to speak up for the things you do like, and you speak by what you support financially, right? So if you agree with and understand what I'm saying, put a yes in the chat. Let me know you're at least going to go take a look at Afro Kids TV. Go visit the website And then if you want to subscribe, feel free to do that. It looks like that you guys, your app is on all the different devices, Roku and everything else. And so take a look at that. It's very, very good work. And I want to ask, how long have you two been friends?
How long has it been, Leo?
Let's see.
I think we met in 1960.
Wow. And so, okay, so let me see. If I'm doing the math right, Mr. Norman, you were 25 years old approximately, right? Is
that sounds about right? Yeah.
Okay. So 1960. What was the context under which you two met and became friends?
Leo came looking for a job at the Walt Disney Studio. I had already been at the Disney Studio for a couple of years, so I was already there when Leo came in looking for a job. Well, he didn't take that job at Disney. But what he did do, we kind of formed an informal partnership and began working together. And believe it or not, we've been working together ever since that first meeting in 1960.
Wow. So Mr. Norman, so while you were working at Disney on all these iconic projects, I saw the list. The list kind of blew me away. I saw Sleeping Beauty and The Jungle Book and Mary Poppins and stuff like that. So, and Toy Story. So while you were working on these different projects, you would also get together and work with your friend Leo on other projects as well. Is that kind of how it went?
That's right. That's very true. Leo was working for Bob Clampett Studios at the time, but we would meet after work. We would meet in the evenings and make our own films. And for us, it was almost like a way of educating ourselves. We wanted to do more than just a job. We wanted to be producers and writers and directors and storytellers and do our own thing. And so we knew that the only way we could do that, we would have to do it on our own. The studio would give us a job, but the studios were not going to give us an opportunity to be a producer or a director. We knew that that door was closed. So we knew the only way to do that would be to educate ourselves, to allow ourselves to learn how to be a director, to learn how to be a producer, to do those jobs that the big boys were doing. And we knew that the only way we could do that was to start our own company, which we eventually did. We formed our own production company, and that way we began to learn even more.
Wow. This is really interesting. And I'm telling you, I got educated. Obviously, I'd heard about Walt Disney Studios, and I did research on Clampett Studios, and they've done some pretty iconic work. I'm gonna share a screen as you talk about it. So, Mr. Sullivan, tell us about the work you did with Clampett Studios. It looked like they had some iconic brands. I see Looney Tunes, DC Comics, things like that. What are some of the projects you worked on, if I may ask?
Oh boy, now that's Floyd and I talk about this all the time. There are so many.
Yeah,
I worked on. So for all you folks listening or watching, Beanie and Cecil. God, my mind is going blank right now. But just to give you kind of a potpourri of things, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, The Incredible Hulk, Scooby-Doo. I did lots of Scooby-Doos. Richie Rich, Space Ghost, Tiny Animaniacs, The Fantastic Four, Superman, Spider-Man. That's enough for now.
Wow. That's a lot. I want everybody to take a minute and kind of take in what he just said. I mean, you're kind of going, you got a lot of us just going through our whole childhood right now.
Oh, yeah.
And just thinking about all these iconic images and things like that. And so Mr. Norman, I'd be curious to ask you, I'm going to tell you, I talk about the Disney company a lot as a template, for just, how to masterfully run an organization. I have a lot of respect for Disney based on the business model that I know. I've been a shareholder for a long time and stuff like that. Now, you worked at Disney Studios during the life of Walt Disney, correct?
Well, at least 10 years of the the old maestro's life. I was at the studio, started in 1956, and Walt Disney passed away in 1966. So at least I worked under his leadership for a decade. So, but then again, I left Disney when Walt Disney passed away in 1966. And really, that's when our company, Vignette Films Incorporated, had just been launched. And Leo Sullivan and our partners, Norm Edlin and Dick Allen, encouraged me to leave the Disney company and to come work at Vignette full time, because we were developing a slate of Black history films. We were doing the projects such as Soul Train and so many other projects that I can't even remember all of them. But it was an opportunity to get out of the big studios and to like do our own thing, to find our own way, and to hopefully launch our own projects. That's a tough thing to do in Hollywood, and it was an especially tough thing to do in the 1960s, when there were not that many opportunities for African American filmmakers. Opportunities back then were few and far between, but we persisted and we did the best we could. We worked for entertainers like Oscar Brown Jr., for Smokey Robinson, for a number of top Hollywood entertainers, trying to create product that had a Black perspective. So we gave it a shot, but I tell you, it was difficult times. And even though things have gotten better today, we have a lot more Black creators producing media for television, for the big screen, for the small screen, for the internet. There's a great deal more opportunity today. So we've had a very exciting run, and we did our best to try to accomplish something. We didn't always meet those goals, but we certainly gave it a try.
Wow. So, Mr. Sullivan, I'll let you get the last word. What is next in terms of where you all are seeking to go with your current projects and the things you're working on now? And I actually should apologize, because I was when you mentioned where you worked with Clampett Studios and also with Disney, and I was excited about that. And then when you talked about Vignette Films and doing your own thing, which is what I'm all about doing your own thing. I had to sort of pause and say, it almost seems that we have this process of putting certain people on a pedestal when we should be putting ourselves on the pedestal first. And so it's that brainwashing. When you said the chain around the mind, all of us are victim of that, Yeah. And maybe so that was a moment of awareness. And so let me ask you this, Mr. Sullivan. Tell us a little bit more about what inspires you right now, what you're working on right now, and then also, Mr. Norman, I'd love for you to follow up on that as well. When you get up every day and you're working on projects now, what are you thinking about? What are your goals and things like that?
Okay, well, some things I can't talk about because they're proprietary, but we have to. We need support of the community to help us by subscribing or being a Patreon. We have when they go to the site, they'll see all of that. They'll have to go to afrokids.com to see all our entities underneath the AfroKids brand. But we need the support of the community, to invest in the children. Because Dr. Watkins, you talk about that all the time. People building equity, in the community, and focus on the thing that's important. Because you may be popping your fingers to these rappers that's sending out negative messages, but what are you going to do when you start getting older?
Well, I love it, and I'm just sharing this on the screen while you describe that, and I hope everybody's hearing that, because you're 100% correct. And your animation, I was looking at it, the work is extraordinary here. And so I'm going to subscribe for my kids, and I hope everyone else will go to afrokids.com and at least take a look. Give me a yes to the chat if you will at least go take a look. At least give the brothers a chance. And also give me a yes in the chat. Give me 2 yeses if you're going to also share this video so that others can see it. Remember, ABC, NBC, CBS, there's nothing magical about these companies, but they have this thing called distribution. Distribution is very important so that the best ideas get out there. You all are our distribution network. Everybody in here is a part of that network. So I want you to consciously take control of that process, take ownership of that, and just say, hey, I've got social media. I can share this link. I can go tell some people about afrokids.com, right? Maybe it's good for my cousin. Maybe it's good for somebody else. So I encourage you all to do that because we need all hands on deck. If we're going to rise up as a people, we can't just wait just for a couple, 2 or 3 superheroes to handle everything. We've all got to pitch in. Okay. So give me 2 yeses if you'll do those 2 things. Just take a look at the site. You don't have to do anything, but at least take a look. Hopefully you'll subscribe. If not, that's okay. 2, share this on your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram. Tell other Black people about what great Black people are doing, because I don't know about y'all, but I personally am super excited about the fact that I got a chance to meet 2 heroes that aren't going to get the same respect or the same support in mainstream media that they're going to get here, but they should be getting it here, right? We are your mainstream media, and these are the people that I'm going to put on my wall of legend. So, Mr. Norman, maybe you can close us out here. What's next for you, sir?
Well, I will continue to work with my longtime associate, Leo Sullivan, on Afro Kids. We're very excited about that, where that's going to go. I've had a long career. Thankfully, it's not over yet. I've been very grateful for the years I've been able to provide entertainment and education for kids. I'm just happy to know that I can continue at the ripe old age of 86, that I can continue doing that with Afro Kids. So I'm just excited to get up every day and continue to work, to continue to entertain and educate and inspire a whole new generation of Black kids, to let them know that they can be successful. All they've got to do is put their minds to it, do the hard work, and know that they can be successful as well. Forget about those negative images. Think positive. And that's what we want to do, is encourage families to have positive attitudes passed down to their children.
Well, I don't know about everybody else, but I'm feeling pretty inspired. How many of you are feeling good right now after hearing this great story? And also, I hope you will express appreciation to our extraordinary guests. I'd love for you guys to stick around after after I shut down the interview, because I know Mr. Norman and Mr. Sullivan, you have reached out about partnering with us with support on Afro Kids TV. I'm 100% behind that, so I'd like to talk to you about that now. And I want to also thank everybody, all of you that are part of our Army, our distribution network. We love you, we appreciate you, and this is critical, everybody. One thing, I don't know if you all know this, Mr. Norman, Mr. Sullivan, but I have all the students in the Black Business School read a book called How the Jews Invented Hollywood. And it's not anti-Semitic or anything like that. It's basically how that community created Hollywood as a power play so they can control their own images and achieve tremendous amounts of economic, political, social power, etc. And so this is part of the blueprint. And I want everybody to know that we're not the first ones. We're not the first generation to do these things. Your parents, grandparents' generation had their own heroes. You just may not know about them the way we should. So let's honor them by doing our part and going out here and kicking some butt, because you can't tell me we're not the greatest. So God bless everybody who's watching. Please hit the thumbs up button on your way out. Please say goodbye to these wonderful gentlemen. Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Norman, Mr. Sullivan, for coming by. And we will see you all soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.